The information provided in this video regarding automotive reliability, brand performance, mechanical longevity, and consumer sentiment is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. This content does not constitute professional mechanical advice, financial planning, or legal counsel. Vehicle reliability can vary significantly based on individual maintenance habits, driving conditions, and specific model years or trim levels. Historical trends and case studies discussed herein are not a certainty of future performance for any specific vehicle. To understand why trust is the most valuable currency in 2026, we have to look at the staggering complexity of modern vehicles. A typical internal combustion engine vehicle now contains over 30,000 individual parts, while an electric vehicle, though having fewer moving mechanical parts, relies on millions of lines of code and thermal management systems that are more complex than those found in mid-range aerospace applications. Trust is not just about the engine turning over on a cold morning anymore. In the current market, trust encompasses software stability, battery degradation curves, the availability of replacement parts in a strained global supply chain, and the manufacturer's willingness to stand behind their product when things go wrong. We have seen case studies over the last 24 months where legacy brands have abandoned their customers over known manifold defects, while others have issued voluntary recalls before a single accident occurred. This disparity in corporate ethics is a primary driver of our rankings. We are also witnessing a fascinating shift in the American psyche. The post-2020 era of car buying was defined by scarcity. People bought whatever was available on the lot. But in 2026, the power has shifted back to the consumer, and the American driver is more educated than ever. We are no longer distracted by 15-inch infotainment screens or ambient interior lighting if the underlying drivetrain is prone to catastrophic failure. We are looking for the brands that prioritize mechanical sympathy and engineering margins. When we talk about potential outcomes, we are looking at the probability of a vehicle reaching the 200,000-mile mark with nothing more than scheduled maintenance. Historical trends suggest that for 90% of the brands on the market, that outcome is statistically unlikely without a major component replacement costing upwards of $5,000. However, for the top 10 brands we are discussing today, that milestone isn't just a possibility, it is the expectation. Furthermore, we must address the financial impact of trust. Depreciation is the silent killer of wealth in the United States. A brand that is not trusted on the secondary market will lose 60 to 70% of its value within the first 3 years of ownership. Conversely, the brands that have cultivated a reputation for bulletproof reliability often retain 70 to 80% of their value over the same period. In many cases, owning a more expensive, highly trusted brand is actually cheaper over a 5-year period than owning a budget-tier vehicle that loses its value the moment you drive it off the lot. We will break down the total cost of ownership (TCO) for these top-tier brands, showing you how historical data proves that reliability is the ultimate hedge against inflation and economic volatility. In this masterclass, we will evaluate each brand through 4 specific lenses. First, we look at mechanical integrity, the over-engineering of the engine, transmission, and suspension. Second, we analyze electronic robustness, how well the vehicle's computers and sensors handle the vibration, heat, and moisture of daily driving over a decade. Third, we examine parts ecosystems, how easy and affordable it is to source components when repairs are eventually needed. Finally, we weigh manufacturer accountability, the brand's track record for honoring warranties and supporting older models. We are going to go deep into the engineering choices that separate these 10 winners from the rest of the pack, from the chemistry of their battery cells to the metallurgy of their piston rings. This is the data-driven guide to navigating the most complex car market in history. If you are tired of being a test pilot for improving automotive technology, and you want to know which brands will still be running when the 2030s arrive, you are in the right place. We are starting the countdown of the 10 car brands Americans trust the most right now. To understand why we are starting our list with a brand that was once the punchline of every automotive joke in the United States, you have to look at the massive cultural and engineering pivot that occurred between 2010 and 2026. Coming in at number 10 is Kia. For the American consumer in 2026, trust in Kia is not just about the mechanical components under the hood. It is a trust built on the most aggressive warranty structure in the history of the domestic market. Imagine if you are a driver named David, living in a high cost of living area like Northern Virginia in 2026. David is facing an economic environment where the price of a simple brake job has hit $800 due to specialized sensor recalibration requirements. For David, trust isn't an abstract feeling of luxury. It is the financial security of knowing that if his transmission fails at year 9 of ownership, he is not looking at a $7,000 out-of-pocket expense that would wipe out his family's emergency fund. Historically, Kia occupied the bottom rungs of reliability studies, plagued by engine fires and security vulnerabilities that led to massive class action settlements in the early 2020s. However, the potential outcomes for a 2026 Kia owner have shifted dramatically due to what engineers call the Smart Stream initiative. This was a total overhaul of their internal combustion architecture, designed specifically to address the failures of the previous Theta engine family. In 2026, we see the real-world results of this shift. Case studies of high-mileage 2023 and 2024 Tellurides, the brand's flagship three-row SUV, are now hitting the 100,000-mile mark with a frequency that was previously reserved for its Japanese competitors. Data from recent 2026 vehicle dependability studies show Kia maintaining a score of approximately 193 problems per 100 vehicles. While this is slightly higher than the top 3 brands we will discuss later, it is significantly better than the industry average in 2026, which has ballooned due to the failure of complex infotainment and driver assistance systems in rival brands. The primary reason Americans have placed Kia in the top 10 is the brand's ability to standardize its technology. While other manufacturers are constantly reinventing their user interfaces and control modules, Kia has maintained a consistent internal logic across its lineup. This reduces what mechanics call software bloat. In a 2026 technical analysis, Kia's infotainment system showed a 30% lower rate of critical failure compared to domestic luxury counterparts. For a driver like David, this means the car actually works when he hits the start button. It means the safety features like the blind spot collision avoidance assist do not throw error codes every time there is a heavy rainstorm. This consistency is a pillar of trust because it creates a predictable ownership experience. Furthermore, we must look at the eGMP platform, which is Kia's dedicated electric vehicle architecture. In 2026, as the United States transitions more aggressively toward electrification, the trust factor has moved from the piston to the battery cell. Kia's EV6 and EV9 models have become case studies in thermal management efficiency. Historical trends in the EV sector showed early adopters suffering from rapid battery degradation in high-heat climates like Arizona or Florida. However, Kia's implementation of advanced liquid cooling systems and preconditioning software has led to potential outcomes where 2026 models are projected to retain 92% of their original capacity after 10 years of average use. This data-driven reliability in the face of new technology is what has propelled the brand ahead of legacy manufacturers who are still struggling with basic software integration. But trust in 2026 is also about the dealership experience and the secondary market. 10 years ago, a used Kia was a high depreciation asset that most people traded in as soon as the warranty expired. Today, the 2026 used car market sees Kia vehicles holding their value at a rate that is nearly identical to mid-tier European brands. This is a result of the Certified Pre-Owned program, which allows the 10-year warranty to remain a selling point long after the first owner has moved on. For the American public, this represents a shift from buying a car out of necessity to buying it as a calculated financial move. The trust is in the life cycle of the vehicle. We also have to discuss the mechanical sympathy built into their current 2026 designs. Kia has moved away from the high-strung, small-displacement turbocharged engines that were prone to premature wear and has leaned back into optimized 2.5-liter and 3.5-liter configurations that operate under lower stress. By reducing the thermal load on the engine components, they have extended the life of critical seals and gaskets. In 2026, a teardown of a high-mileage Kia Sorento engine reveals significantly less carbon buildup than seen in previous generations, thanks to the refinement of their dual-port injection systems. This is the kind of engineering detail that doesn't make it into a commercial but shows up in your bank account 5 years into ownership when you aren't paying for an intake manifold cleaning. However, the reason Kia sits at number 10 and not higher is that they are still battling the historical trends of their dealer network. While the vehicles have improved, the consistency of the service experience across all 50 states remains a point of friction. Trust is a holistic concept. It starts with the engineering but ends with the person holding the wrench at your local service center. In 2026, Kia is in the middle of a massive dealer reinvestment program to bring their service quality in line with their mechanical improvements. They are currently the brand to watch because their upward trajectory is the steepest in the industry. They have moved from a brand you buy because you have to a brand you buy because you've done the math. As we move into the next level of our countdown, the stakes get even higher. While Kia has mastered the art of the comeback through warranty and standardized tech, the brand at number 9 has done something even more controversial. They have managed to maintain a top-tier trust ranking despite having the most criticized build quality in the history of the American automotive industry. How can a brand be both the most complained about and one of the most trusted at the same time? To answer that, we have to look at the brand that has effectively turned its customers into a loyal community of believers who prioritize data over panel gaps. Imagine a manufacturer that had to jump 8 positions in the reliability rankings in a single year just to prove the skeptics wrong. This next brand is the reason why every other company on this list is currently redesigning their entire production line. We are about to dive into the world of the manufacturer that has redefined what it means to be an American car company in 2026, overcoming some of the most public failures in automotive history to secure its spot in the hearts of U.S. drivers. Stay tuned as we reveal brand number 9, and the shocking reason why its owners are some of the most satisfied people on the road today. Coming in at number 9 is the brand that has spent the last decade being the most polarizing name in the automotive industry, Tesla. In 2026, the American public has reached a fascinating consensus that would have seemed impossible just 5 years ago. To understand why Tesla has secured a spot in the top 10 most trusted brands, we have to look past the sensationalist headlines and the social media controversies to examine the cold, hard data of long-term mechanical survival. For the American consumer in 2026, trust is no longer about whether the door handles are perfectly flush or if the carpet alignment is symmetrical. Trust is now defined by the potential outcomes of the powertrain and the stability of the operating system. Imagine if you are a driver named Sarah, a freelance architectural consultant living in the heat of Austin, Texas, in 2026. Sarah's daily reality involves a 60-mile round-trip commute through stop-and-go traffic where temperatures frequently exceed 100 degrees. In a traditional internal combustion vehicle, this environment is a graveyard for cooling systems, plastic gaskets, and high-pressure fuel pumps. For Sarah, trust in her 2026 Model Y is rooted in the lack of complexity. Historically, the most common points of failure in an American car were the cooling system, the transmission, and the fuel delivery system. By eliminating the internal combustion engine entirely, Tesla has removed approximately 2,000 moving parts that are prone to mechanical fatigue. Sarah trusts her vehicle because she has spent 3 years and 75,000 miles without once visiting a traditional repair shop for anything other than tire rotations and cabin air filters. This is where the case studies become undeniable. Data from 2026 fleet operators, including large-scale ride-sharing companies that transition to all-electric fleets, show a significant historical trend. Tesla vehicles are consistently reaching the 250,000-mile mark with original drive units and battery packs that still retain over 88% of their original capacity. While legacy manufacturers were struggling with the transition to software-defined vehicles, Tesla was refining the chemistry of its 4,680 battery cells and the metallurgy of its rotors. In 2026, the American driver values the fact that a Tesla is essentially a high-performance computer on wheels that does not require a complex dance of fluid changes and belt replacements to stay operational. Step by step, let us look at the engineering pivot that happened leading up to 2026. Tesla introduced what they call gigacasting, a process where massive sections of the car's frame are cast as single pieces of aluminum, rather than being welded together from hundreds of individual stamped parts. For the consumer, this translates to structural trust. A vehicle with fewer joints and welds is a vehicle with fewer points of failure under the stress of American potholes and highway speeds. In 2026, we see the results of this in the lack of rattles and squeaks that used to plague older models. Furthermore, the 2026 lineup has fully integrated the 48-volt electrical architecture first seen in the Cybertruck. This transition allowed for thinner wiring harnesses and more robust data transmission between components, which in 2026 has resulted in a 40% reduction in localized electrical faults compared to 12-volt systems used by competitors. However, the real pillar of trust for the American public in 2026 is the supercharger network. Trust is the knowledge that you will never be stranded. While third-party charging networks in the United States have struggled with maintenance and uptime issues, the Tesla network in 2026 maintains a 99.9% reliability rate. For Sarah and Austin, taking a road trip to visit family in Denver is not a high-stakes gamble. It is a predictable, data-driven experience. The vehicle's software predicts the state of charge upon arrival with a 1% margin of error, and the chargers themselves are integrated into the vehicle's thermal management system. Before Sarah even arrives at a charger, her car is preconditioning the battery to the optimal temperature to accept the fastest possible charge. This level of vertical integration creates a sense of reliability that is psychological as much as it is mechanical. We must also discuss the evolution of the software over-the-air or OTA updates. In 2026, the American consumer views their car more like a smartphone than a traditional machine. Historical trends showed that cars used to get worse every year. You owned them as parts wore out and technology became obsolete. In 2026, Tesla has proven that a car can actually get better. Case studies of 2023 models show that through software optimization, those vehicles actually improved their braking distance and cold weather range in 2025 and 2026 without the owner ever stepping foot in a service center. This creates a potential outcome where the vehicle's value is protected by its continuous modernization. When a safety recall is issued in 2026, for many brands, it means a day lost at the dealership. For a Tesla owner, it usually means an automatic software download while they sleep. This efficiency is a massive driver of trust for the busy American professional. There is also the financial trust factor. In 2026, the secondary market for electric vehicles has stabilized, and Teslas have emerged as the gold standard for resale value in the EV space. Because the battery health can be verified instantly through the onboard diagnostics, and the drivetrain has so few points of failure, used car buyers in 2026 are willing to pay a premium for a high-mileage Tesla over a low-mileage competitor. This residual value is a key component of why Americans trust the brand. They know they aren't throwing their money into a black hole of depreciation. Furthermore, Tesla's proprietary insurance product, which uses real-time driving data to calculate premiums, has become a favorite for safety-conscious drivers. In 2026, seeing your insurance premium drop because the car's sensors confirm you are a safe driver builds a unique bond between the brand and the consumer. But why is it only at number 9? Despite the mechanical and software reliability, Tesla still faces trust issues regarding its service network capacity. In 2026, as the number of Teslas on American roads has surged, some owners in rural areas still face long wait times for physical repairs that cannot be fixed over the air. While the mobile service fleet is the largest in the world, the availability of specialized body shops remains a bottleneck. This is the friction point that keeps them from climbing higher on the list. The American public trusts the machine and the software, but they are still cautious about the infrastructure required if an accident occurs. Now, as we move into the 8th spot, we are shifting from the futuristic world of silicon and batteries to a brand that has built its entire reputation on a single unwavering promise of all-weather capability and rugged reliability. While Tesla redefined trust through technology, this next brand redefined it through a sense of adventure and safety that has created some of the most loyal owners in the United States. It is a brand that doesn't care about being the fastest or the most high-tech, yet it dominates the driveways of the Pacific Northwest and the Northeast for a very specific reason. We are about to look at the brand that has mastered the art of the symmetrical powertrain and why their owners wouldn't dream of driving anything else, even in the harshest 2026 winter. If you think you know which manufacturer has the highest rate of repeat buyers in the country, the answer might be more mechanical than you expect. Stay with us as we uncover the brand that has turned safety into a cult following. Coming in at number 8 is the brand that has managed to build a fortress of trust in the most rugged corners of the United States: Subaru. In 2026, the American driver's relationship with Subaru has transcended mere brand loyalty and entered the realm of a lifestyle identity. To understand why Subaru consistently ranks as one of the most trusted names in the country, you have to look at the specific regions where their market share is disproportionately high: places like New England, the Pacific Northwest, and the Rocky Mountains. In these environments, a car is not a luxury. It is a survival tool. Trust here is measured in the ability to navigate a sudden October blizzard or a muddy trailhead in the Cascades without a second thought. Imagine if you are a driver named Mark, a landscape photographer living in Boulder, Colorado, in 2026. Mark's job requires him to be on the road at 4 in the morning, often before the snowplows have even cleared the main arteries, let alone the winding mountain passes. For Mark, trust is not about a fast 0 to 60 time or a high-resolution screen. Trust is the symmetrical all-wheel drive system that has been the backbone of Subaru's engineering philosophy for decades. Unlike the slip and grip systems found in many competing crossovers, which wait for a wheel to lose traction before sending power to the others, Subaru's system is a full-time, active architecture. It is continuously sending power to all four wheels, providing a level of stability and predictability that creates a measurable difference in potential outcomes during high-stakes driving maneuvers. Historically, the American consumer has viewed all-wheel drive as an add-on or a premium feature. Subaru changed that narrative by making it standard across nearly their entire lineup. But the trust factor in 2026 goes deeper than just the drivetrain. It is found in the heart of the vehicle, the Boxer engine. In 2026, Subaru's current generation of FB Series and FA Series flat-4 engines represents the pinnacle of this unique layout. Because the cylinders are laid flat and move horizontally toward each other, the engine sits significantly lower in the engine bay. This results in a lower center of gravity for the entire vehicle. For a driver like Mark, this translates to a car that handles like a much smaller sedan despite having the ground clearance of a rugged SUV. In an emergency swerve on an icy I-70, that lower center of gravity is the difference between a controlled recovery and a catastrophic rollover. Let us look at the data-driven case studies regarding safety, which is perhaps the strongest pillar of Subaru's trust. In 2026, the EyeSight driver assist technology has reached its fourth generation. Unlike systems that rely on a single camera or a mix of cheap radar sensors, EyeSight uses a dual camera setup that mimics human binocular vision. This allows the car to perceive depth and distance with a level of accuracy that historical trends show has reduced rear-end collisions with injuries by up to 85% in equipped vehicles. For the American parent in 2026, seeing the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety award Subaru top marks year after year is not just a marketing badge. It is a psychological contract. They trust that the vehicle is designed with a ring-shaped reinforcement frame, a cage of high-tensile steel specifically engineered to divert crash energy away from the cabin occupants. We also have to address the elephant in the room: historical reliability. Long-term Subaru owners from the early 2010s will remember the head gasket and CVT issues that once clouded the brand's reputation. However, the potential outcomes for a 2026 Subaru owner are vastly different. In a masterclass of engineering iterative improvement, Subaru spent the last 5 years redesigning their Lineartronic, continuously variable transmissions with a high-strength chain drive system and enhanced cooling logic. Case studies of 2023 and 2024 models reaching the 150,000-mile mark show a failure rate that has plummeted compared to the previous decade. By moving to the Subaru Global Platform, they have also increased chassis rigidity by over 70%, which reduces the long-term wear and tear on suspension components and prevents the rattles and squeaks that typically plague high-mileage vehicles. Furthermore, the trust in Subaru is bolstered by their 2026 pivot toward pragmatic electrification. While some brands rushed to release improved all-electric platforms, Subaru leveraged its partnership with Toyota to introduce the 2026 Crosstrek Hybrid, which utilizes one of the most reliable hybrid drive units in the world. This move allowed Subaru to maintain its rugged identity, while offering the fuel efficiency and instant torque that modern Americans demand. For the consumer, this partnership is a massive trust signal. It combines Subaru's legendary all-weather capability with the proven hybrid reliability of the world's largest automaker. Financially, the trust in Subaru is reflected in the 2026 used car market. Subarus currently hold some of the highest residual values in the United States. When a brand can claim that 96% of the vehicles sold in the last 10 years are still on the road, it changes the way people view the purchase. It is no longer a 5-year commitment, it is seen as a 10 to 15-year asset. This longevity is supported by the brand's Share the Love initiatives and their commitment to zero landfill manufacturing plants. The American public in 2026 trusts Subaru because the company's values, environmental stewardship and safety, align with their own. But perhaps the most interesting aspect of Subaru's 8th-place spot is the community itself. Trust is reinforced by the social proof of seeing millions of other drivers confidently tackling the worst weather conditions. In 2026, Subaru has leaned into this by expanding their wilderness trim levels, which provide factory-warranted upgrades like increased ground clearance and heavy-duty skid plates. This shows the consumer that the manufacturer understands how the cars are actually being used. They aren't just selling a car. They are selling the confidence to go further. For Mark in Boulder, that means he can reach the trailhead at 5 in the morning, knowing his vehicle was engineered for exactly that moment. However, as we move into the 7th spot on our list, we encounter a brand that has taken a completely different path to earning the trust of the American public. While Subaru focused on rugged capability and the outdoors, This next manufacturer has spent the last 5 years undergoing a total transformation. They have moved away from being a budget-friendly alternative and have positioned themselves as a premium powerhouse that offers near-luxury refinement with a level of mechanical simplicity that is almost unheard of in 2026. This 7th-ranked brand has defied the industry trend of adding more and more complex turbochargers and hybrid systems, instead sticking to a philosophy of human-centric engineering. They have managed to create engines that are more efficient through sheer physics and high compression ratios, rather than fragile electronic components. Coming in at number 7 on our list of the car brands Americans trust the most in 2026 is Mazda. Furthermore, we have to discuss the 2026 pivot to the large platform. With the introduction of the CX-70 and CX-90, Mazda introduced a rear-wheel drive biased architecture and a new 3.3-liter turbocharged inline-6 engine. In the automotive world, the inline-6 is legendary for its natural balance and smoothness. By moving to this larger, under-stressed engine, Mazda has signaled to the American public that they are building cars for the long haul. Historical trends in the luxury segment show that inline-6 engines often outlast V6 configurations because they have fewer moving parts and better thermal management. For the 2026 American buyer, this represents a potential outcome of long-term mechanical stability that is increasingly rare in an era of 3-cylinder engines and hybrid-only lineups. Another pillar of Mazda's trust ranking in 2026 is their meticulous approach to manufacturing. While many brands have outsourced their component production to the lowest bidder, Mazda has maintained a tight-knit relationship with their Takumi, or master craftsmen, in Japan. Even in their newer North American facilities, like the plant in Alabama, they have implemented a rigorous quality control process that focuses on the small details. Case studies of 2026 models show a significantly lower rate of panel gap inconsistencies and interior rattles compared to domestic competitors. For a consumer, these small details are the primary indicators of overall build quality. If the interior trim doesn't rattle after 3 years of driving over Chicago's potholes, the driver is much more likely to trust that the engine and suspension are built to the same exacting standards. Financially, the trust in Mazda is solidified by their 2026 residual value rankings. As more Americans realize the long-term reliability of the Skyactiv drivetrains, the demand for used Mazdas has skyrocketed. In 2026, a 3-year-old Mazda CX-5 retains a higher percentage of its value than many of its more famous Japanese rivals. This creates a virtuous cycle of trust. Buyers feel confident paying a premium for a new Mazda because they know the market will reward them when it is time to trade it in. It is a data-backed validation of the brand's engineering choices. We must also look at Mazda's safety record in 2026. Their iActive Sense suite of driver assistance features has been refined to be less intrusive than many other systems on the market. Trust is earned when a safety system works seamlessly in the background without constantly flashing false alarms at the driver. In 2026, Mazda's implementation of smart brake support and radar cruise control is cited by owners as one of the most reliable and least frustrating systems available. For a driver like Elena, this means she can trust the car to assist her in an emergency without worrying about the system making a mistake in a car wash or during a heavy rainstorm. However, the reason Mazda remains at number 7 and hasn't climbed into the top 5 is their relatively late start in the full electric space. While their hybrids and plug-in hybrids are excellent, the American public in 2026 still has some reservations about Mazda's long-term EV strategy. They have chosen a path of slow, calculated transition rather than a rapid sprint, which builds trust with traditionalists but leaves a question mark for those looking toward a 2030 all-electric future. But for the driver who wants a premium, reliable, and mechanically sound machine today, Mazda is a masterclass in how to do things right. As we move into the 6th spot on our list, we are entering the territory of the automotive titans. This next brand is so deeply ingrained in the American consciousness that its name has become a synonym for reliability. While Mazda earned its spot through premium engineering and mechanical simplicity, this next manufacturer has built its trust on a foundation of sheer, unadulterated volume and a history of making the most bulletproof commuter cars on the planet. This is the brand that families have passed down from generation to generation, and in 2026, they have managed to stay ahead of the curve by perfecting the one technology that every American driver is currently clamoring for. Imagine a brand that doesn't just build cars, but builds legacies. This manufacturer has created a powertrain that is widely considered the most reliable piece of engineering in the history of the modern world. We are about to look at the brand that has successfully bridged the gap between the gasoline era and the electric future without sacrificing a single ounce of its reputation for longevity. Can you guess which brand is the undisputed king of the hybrid world and has become the ultimate safe haven for American capital in 2026? Stay with us as we reveal number 6 and dive into the engineering secrets that make their cars virtually impossible to kill. Coming in at number 6 is the manufacturer that has become the undisputed global benchmark for mechanical endurance and hybrid innovation: Toyota. For the American consumer in 2026, the name Toyota is more than just a brand, it is a financial strategy. However, seeing Toyota at the number 6 spot might come as a surprise to those who remember them dominating the top of these lists for decades. To understand why they sit here in 2026, we have to look at a very specific set of historical trends and recent case studies that have slightly tested the absolute trust of the US public, while simultaneously proving why their hybrid technology remains the most reliable engineering feat on the road today. Imagine a driver named James, a logistics coordinator living in the extreme heat of Phoenix, Arizona, in 2026. James purchased a 2026 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid because his daily routine involves a 70-mile commute through some of the most punishing thermal conditions in North America. In a traditional vehicle, the combination of 115-degree ambient temperatures and the stop-and-go friction of city traffic is a recipe for transmission failure and cooling system fatigue. But for James, trust is rooted in the unique engineering of the Toyota hybrid system, specifically the electronic continuously variable transmission or ECVT. Unlike a traditional CVT that relies on a steel belt or a system of pulleys, both of which are common failure points due to heat and wear, Toyota's ECVT uses a planetary gear set. This is a masterpiece of mechanical simplicity with no belts to slip, no clutches to burn out, and no hydraulic valves to clog. In 2026, case studies of high-mileage Toyota hybrids used in taxi and ride-sharing fleets show that these planetary gear systems are frequently reaching 300,000 to 400,000 miles with zero internal failures. This mechanical robustness is the primary reason why Toyota remains a pillar of trust, but we must address why they are not higher on the list this year. In 2024 and 2025, Toyota faced a significant challenge to its bulletproof reputation with a large-scale recall of its V35 AFTS twin-turbo V6 engines found in the Tundra and Lexus LX. The issue involved machining debris left inside the engine blocks during manufacturing, which could lead to catastrophic engine failure. For a brand that built its entire identity on quality control, this was a shocking development. However, the way Toyota handled this crisis is actually what secured their spot at number 6. Instead of denying the problem or offering temporary fixes, they initiated a massive program to replace entire engine assemblies for affected owners. This historical trend of taking extreme accountability, even at a multi-billion-dollar cost, reinforced the long-term trust of the American public. They realized that while no machine is perfect, Toyota is one of the few brands that will stand behind its product until the problem is solved. In 2026, the potential outcomes for a Toyota owner are also heavily influenced by the brand's conservative approach to technology. While other manufacturers were rushing to integrate improved features, Toyota perfected the 5th-generation hybrid system. This 2026 iteration features a more compact and powerful lithium-ion battery pack and a more efficient electric motor generator setup. By analyzing the chemistry of these batteries over the last decade, engineers have created a thermal management logic that significantly slows down cell degradation. Data from 2026 suggests that a modern Toyota hybrid battery is likely to retain over 85% of its original capacity, even after 12 years of service. This is a massive trust factor for the American family who plans to keep their vehicle for a decade or more. Furthermore, we must look at the concept of mechanical sympathy. Toyota's engines, particularly the dynamic force 2.5-liter four-cylinder, are designed to operate on the Atkinson cycle. This process keeps the intake valve open longer during the compression stroke, which reduces the internal pumping losses and allows the engine to run cooler and more efficiently. By pairing this engine with a hybrid system that handles the high torque demands of initial acceleration, the gasoline engine is never under extreme stress. In 2026, teardowns of these engines at the 150,000-mile mark reveal internal components that look nearly new, with minimal carbon buildup on the valves thanks to the dual injection system that uses both port and direct injection. This prevents the costly maintenance issues that plague many other modern direct injection engines. The financial trust in Toyota is perhaps the most quantifiable part of this masterclass. In 2026, The resale value of a used Toyota in the United States remains at the top of the industry. A 2026 Tacoma or 4Runner is projected to retain nearly 75% of its original MSRP after 5 years of ownership. This makes the total cost of ownership incredibly low. For a consumer like James in Phoenix, even if he pays a slight premium at the dealership, he knows that his equity is protected. Historical trends show that during economic downturns, the demand for used Toyotas actually increases because people prioritize reliability over luxury features. This creates a secondary market that acts as a safety net for the original owner's capital. Step by step, Toyota has also modernized its safety suite without making it a nuisance. In 2026, Toyota Safety Sense 4.0 has become the gold standard for non-intrusive driver assistance. It utilizes high-resolution cameras and millimeter wave radar to provide a 360-degree safety shield. But unlike other brands where the lane keep assist feels like it is fighting the driver, Toyota's system is tuned for smoothness. Trust is built when the technology works with the human driver rather than against them. This is why Toyota continues to dominate the family SUV and minivan segments with the Highlander and the Sienna. Parents trust that the vehicle is looking out for them without being a distraction. Another factor contributing to their number 6 position is the parts ecosystem. Because Toyota shares so many components across its global lineup, parts are readily available and relatively affordable, even in 2020 SIX's strained supply chain. Any independent mechanic in the United States is familiar with the Toyota architecture, meaning owners are not tethered to expensive dealership service departments for basic repairs. This ease of serviceability is a major pillar of trust for the rural American driver, who may live hundreds of miles from the nearest authorized dealer. As we look toward the future, Toyota is currently making waves with its 2026 announcement regarding solid-state battery technology. While this is still in the early stages of implementation, the historical data of Toyota's battery safety has given the public confidence that when they do release this technology, it will be thoroughly vetted. They have resisted the urge to be first to market, choosing instead to be the most reliable to market. This strategy of calculated patience is exactly what keeps millions of Americans returning to the brand generation after generation. However, as we move into the top 5 car brands Americans trust the most, we are about to encounter a manufacturer that has done the unthinkable. While Toyota represents the pinnacle of Japanese reliability, the brand at number 5 has successfully captured the heart of the American worker by building a machine that is as much a tool as it is a vehicle. This manufacturer has mastered the art of high-output utility and has created a legacy that defines the American landscape from the construction sites of Texas to the farms of the Midwest. Imagine a brand that has held the title of the best-selling vehicle in America for over 4 decades. This manufacturer hasn't just built a truck, they have built a culture of trust around the idea of getting the job done, no matter the conditions. We are about to dive into the world of the manufacturer that has redefined what it means to be built tough in 2026, overcoming massive technological shifts to remain the king of the American road. Can you guess which domestic giant has secured the number 5 spot by blending raw power with a new era of digital intelligence? Stay with us as we reveal the legendary brand that every American worker trusts to carry the load. Coming in at number 5 is the titan of the American workforce, a brand that has become the literal backbone of the United States economy for nearly half a century, Ford. To understand why Ford has secured this high of a position in 2026, you have to look beyond the casual commuter and into the world of the people who treat their vehicles as a professional-grade tool. For the American consumer, Ford is not just a car company. It is the manufacturer of the F-Series, a vehicle that has been the best-selling truck in America for 49 consecutive years. This level of market dominance creates a unique historical trend where the trust is built not just on the machine, but on the massive infrastructure of parts, service, and collective knowledge that surrounds it. Imagine if you are a driver named Mike, an independent electrical contractor based in rural Ohio in 2026. Mike's livelihood depends on his ability to reach job sites in the middle of winter, often carrying over 1,000 pounds of equipment in the bed of his 2026 F-150. For Mike, trust is not defined by luxury leather or a quiet cabin. Trust is the fully boxed, high-strength steel frame and the military-grade, aluminum alloy body that won't succumb to the road salt that destroys other vehicles in the Rust Belt. In 2026, historical trends in the used truck market show that Ford's decision to move to aluminum in the mid-2010s was a masterstroke for long-term trust. As these vehicles are reaching 12 years of age with zero structural rust issues, a feat that was previously unthinkable for a hardworking American truck. The technical core of Ford's 2026 trust factor is the refinement of the PowerBoost hybrid powertrain. In this deep dive masterclass of engineering, Ford has managed to do something that few others have. They made a hybrid that the most skeptical traditional truck buyers actually want. The 2026 PowerBoost system utilizes a 3.5-liter twin-turbocharged V6 paired with a 35-kilowatt electric motor integrated directly into the 10-speed automatic transmission. This is not just about fuel efficiency. It is about the potential outcome of having a mobile power plant. Case studies from the 2024 and 2025 hurricane seasons in the Southeast showed thousands of Ford owners using their Pro Power onboard systems to keep their home refrigerators and medical equipment running during multi-day grid failures. For a driver like Mike, this means he can run high-draw power tools like table saws and air compressors directly off his truck at a remote job site without the need for a noisy, separate generator. This utility creates a bond of trust that goes far beyond transportation. Furthermore, we must analyze the evolution of Ford's engine philosophy. While the early days of the EcoBoost engines were met with some hesitation, the 2026 data shows that the third generation of these engines has become incredibly robust. By implementing a dual injection system, using both port and direct injection, Ford has effectively eliminated the carbon buildup issues on intake valves that plague many modern engines. Step by step, Ford engineers also optimized the cooling paths around the turbochargers, ensuring that even under heavy towing in 2020 SIXS increasingly hot summers, the thermal load remains within safe margins. Historical trends from high-mileage fleet data indicate that the 2.7-liter and 3.5-liter EcoBoost engines are now regularly reaching the 200,000-mile mark with only routine maintenance, placing them in the same reliability conversation as the legendary 5.0-liter Coyote V8. In 2026, Ford has also taken a massive lead in what they call the software-defined vehicle. Trust in the modern era requires a car that stays current. Ford's Blue Cruise 1.4, their hands-free highway driving system, has become a benchmark for safety and reliability on American interstates. Unlike some competitors that rely solely on cameras, Ford utilizes a sophisticated blend of radar, ultrasonic sensors, and driver-facing infrared cameras to ensure the system is operating safely. For Mike on a long haul across Ohio, this system reduces fatigue, and the trust comes from the fact that the vehicle will proactively hand control back to the driver if it senses any ambiguity in the road markings. This transparency in the technology's limitations actually builds more trust than a system that claims to be invincible. We also have to look at Ford Pro, the brand's dedicated commercial division. In 2026, this is a major pillar of why the brand is number 5. Large-scale logistics companies and local municipalities trust Ford because of the uptime. Ford's telematics software can predict a potential outcome of a part failure before it actually happens. For example, if a fuel pump in a fleet of transit vans starts showing a high electrical draw, the system alerts the fleet manager to schedule a service before the van breaks down on the side of the road. This transition from reactive to predictive maintenance has saved American businesses millions of dollars in 2026, and that saved capital translates directly into brand trust. Financially, the trust in Ford is visible in the staggering resale values of their specialized models. In 2026, a 4-year-old Ford Raptor or a well-maintained F-150 Lightning retains a higher percentage of its value than almost any other vehicle in its class. This is because the American public knows that a Ford truck is a liquid asset. There is always a buyer for a used Ford in every corner of the country. This liquidity is supported by the densest dealer network in the United States. Whether you are in the heart of Manhattan or the most remote part of Wyoming, you are never more than a few dozen miles from a technician who has the specialized tools to work on your vehicle. But why is Ford at number 5 and not higher? In 2026, the brand is still navigating the complexities of its massive transition to electric vehicles. While the F-150 Lightning has been a success for many, the infrastructure for heavy-duty electric towing still presents challenges that haven't been fully solved. There is also the historical trend of occasional interior material quality issues in lower trim models, which keeps them just below the top 4 brands that prioritize near-perfect fit and finish. However, for the person who views their vehicle as an essential partner in their daily labor, Ford is the undisputed gold standard. As we move into the final 4 car brands, the competition becomes incredibly fierce. We are moving out of the realm of pure utility and into the territory of the manufacturers that have mastered the art of perfection. The brand at number 4 has spent decades being the quiet achiever of the automotive world. They don't make the loudest trucks or the fastest supercars, but they have a customer retention rate that makes other CEOs lose sleep. This fourth-ranked brand has built a reputation for such extreme reliability that their vehicles are often the only ones still running in some of the most remote and hostile environments on Earth. They have successfully blended the luxury of a premium brand with the ruggedness of a tank. In 2026, this manufacturer has become the ultimate status symbol for people who want to show they are smart with their money, not just wealthy. We are about to reveal the brand that has perfected the SUV and why, in 2026, their waitlists are still 12 months long despite having some of the highest price tags on this list. Can you guess which Japanese luxury giant has turned reliability into an art form? Stay with us as we uncover the secrets of brand number 4 and the mechanical obsession that makes them nearly impossible to beat. Taking the number 4 spot is the brand that has essentially redefined what luxury means in the United States by stripping away the anxiety of ownership. Lexus. For decades, the American luxury market was dominated by European marques that offered prestige at the cost of high maintenance and unpredictable electrical grays. Lexus changed that narrative by proving that a vehicle could be both a high-status symbol and a mechanical tank. In 2026, this reputation has reached a fever pitch. While other luxury brands are struggling with the long-term reliability of their complex mild hybrid systems and massive, glitch-prone screens, Lexus has maintained its position by adhering to a philosophy of relentless over-engineering and a fanatical devotion to quality control that borderlines on the obsessive. Imagine if you are a driver named Susan, a high-performing medical device sales representative in Southern California in 2026. Susan's career requires her to be on the road for 4 to 5 hours every day, traversing the sprawling highway systems from San Diego to Santa Barbara. For Susan, her 2026 Lexus RX 500h is not just a car. It is her mobile office and her sanctuary. Trust for her is the knowledge that she will never miss a critical hospital meeting because of a software hang or a cooling fan failure. In a world where luxury often implies fragility, Susan's trust is rooted in the historical trends of the Lexus brand, which consistently places it at the very top of every major reliability index, from J.D. Power to Consumer Reports. For Susan, the potential outcome of owning a Lexus is a decade of service where the only reason she visits the dealership is for complimentary coffee and a routine oil change. To understand the depth of this trust, we have to look at the Tahara plant in Japan, where many Lexus models are birthed. In 2026, the manufacturing process at Tahara remains a masterclass in human-machine collaboration. Every single engine that comes off the line is balanced by a Takumi master, a craftsman with at least 20 years of experience who can detect a microscopic vibration or a sub-millimeter misalignment just by touch. While other brands have moved toward fully automated assembly to cut costs, Lexus maintains this human touch because they know that trust is built in the details that a robot might miss. Step by step, every Lexus undergoes a 200-point inspection that includes a sonic test to ensure the cabin is perfectly sealed against the outside world. This is why a 2026 Lexus feels as solid at 100,000 miles as it did on day one. A critical case study in Lexus trust involves their transition to the new 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6 engine, known internally as the V35A FTS. When this engine was first introduced in the LX and GX models, there were concerns about moving away from the legendary, naturally aspirated V8S. However, by 2026 the data has come in and the results are staggering. Lexus engineers didn't just add turbos. They redesigned the entire thermal management system to ensure the turbos stay cool, even under the heavy load of towing a boat through the Mojave Desert. Historical trends show that while many European turbocharged engines suffer from oil leaks and plastic component degradation after 5 years, the Lexus design utilizes high-grade alloys and a simplified vacuum system that reduces the number of potential failure points. This engineering foresight is why the 2026 Lexus GX has a 12-month waitlist. The American public trusts that Lexus has done the homework so the owner doesn't have to. We also have to discuss the Lexus Covenant. This is a formal document that every Lexus employee, from the CEO to the service technician, is expected to uphold. It states that Lexus will treat every customer as they would a guest in their own home. In 2026, this isn't just a mission statement, it is a competitive advantage. When a vehicle does have a minor issue, because no machine is perfect, the Lexus dealership experience is designed to maintain trust rather than erode it. Case studies of Lexus owners in 2026 highlight a level of proactive service that is unheard of elsewhere. For example, if a sensor on Susan's RX shows a slight deviation in performance, the dealership often reaches out to her via the Lexus app to schedule a convenient time for a preventative checkup, providing a high-end loaner vehicle immediately. This transparency and respect for the owner's time are what turn first-time buyers into lifelong advocates. Financially, the trust in Lexus is reflected in the most impressive residual values in the luxury sector. In 2026, the depreciation curve of a Lexus is significantly shallower than that of its German or American luxury counterparts. While a typical high-end SUV might lose 50% of its value in the first 3 years, a Lexus LX or RX often retains 70 to 75%. This makes the total cost of ownership incredibly favorable. For the American consumer, buying a Lexus is seen as a smart capital preservation move. They are not just buying a car, they are buying an asset that will be worth a significant amount when it is time to upgrade. This financial reliability is a massive pillar of trust for the pragmatic American professional, who values both quality and fiscal responsibility. Furthermore, we must address the 2026 Lexus approach to the digital cockpit. While competitors are engaged in a race to see who can fit the largest, most distracting screen into a dashboard, Lexus has implemented the Lexus interface with a focus on voice-first interaction and tactile feedback. They realize that trust is also about safety and ease of use. By 2026, the Lexus system has become a case study in intuitive design, allowing drivers like Susan to control everything from climate to navigation without ever taking their eyes off the road. The system is backed by an ultra-secure, redundant server architecture that minimizes the potential outcomes of a system crash while driving. Another unique factor for Lexus in 2026 is their mastery of the hybrid luxury space. While other brands are forcing consumers to choose between an internal combustion engine and a full battery electric vehicle, Lexus has perfected the luxury hybrid. The 2026 LC500H and the RX hybrids use a multi-stage hybrid system that provides the torque and performance of a sports car with the efficiency and reliability of a commuter. Because Lexus has been building hybrids for over 20 years, their battery management software is the most refined in the industry. Data from 2026 shows that Lexus hybrid batteries are outlasting the vehicles themselves, with many reaching 250,000 miles without a significant drop in range or power. But why is Lexus at number 4 and not in the top 3? Despite their near-perfect reliability and service, they occupy a premium price bracket that is inaccessible to a large portion of the American public. Trust is high among those who can afford them, but the top 3 spots are reserved for brands that offer that same level of bulletproof reliability to the everyman. As we move into the top 3, we are entering the territory of the ultimate household names. The brand at number 3 has a history that is so deeply intertwined with American life that almost every person watching this video has either owned one or knows someone who has. They are the brand that turned the affordable car into a legend. They don't just build vehicles, they build engines that are widely considered the most reliable 4-cylinder power plants ever conceived. We are about to dive into the world of the manufacturer that has mastered the art of the perfect daily driver, a brand that has survived every economic shift and technological revolution to remain the most trusted choice for the American family. Can you guess which brand is the undisputed king of the compact car and the midsize sedan? Stay with us as we reveal number 3 and the engineering secrets that make their engines virtually immortal. Coming in at number 3 on our list of the car brands Americans trust the most in 2026 is Honda. For generations of United States drivers, the Silver H badge has represented something far more significant than mere transportation. It represents a social contract between a manufacturer and a consumer that the machine will simply work, regardless of the circumstances. In 2026, as vehicle prices remain at historic highs and the complexity of automotive electronics reaches a breaking point, Honda's commitment to mechanical purity and intuitive engineering has solidified its place on the podium of trust. While other brands have chased fleeting trends or sacrificed long-term durability for short-term tech gimmicks, Honda has spent the last 5 years doubling down on the core principles that made the Civic and the Accord household names. Imagine if you are a driver named Marcus, a dedicated urban commuter living in the humid, high-traffic environment of Atlanta, Georgia, in 2026. Marcus drives a 2026 Honda Accord Hybrid, and his daily reality involves 90 minutes of stop-and-go congestion on the downtown connector where temperatures regularly hover in the mid-90s. For Marcus, trust is not an abstract concept. It is the physical sensation of the transition between electric and gasoline power remaining seamless after 60,000 miles of brutal city driving. In 2026, historical trends indicate that Honda's two-motor hybrid system, which has now been refined through 4 generations, is one of the few electrified drivetrains that owners expect to reach the 15-year mark without a significant loss in operational efficiency. This is a primary driver of the potential outcomes Marcus considers when he chooses to stay with the brand for his 3rd consecutive vehicle purchase. To understand why Honda holds this level of trust, we must conduct a deep dive into the engineering of their 2026 powertrain lineup. At the heart of Honda's reliability is the Earth Dreams technology suite, which has undergone a massive evolution leading into 2026. One of the most critical components of this trust is the refinement of the 1.5-liter turbocharged engine. In the early 2020s, some iterations of this engine faced scrutiny regarding oil dilution in cold climates. However, in 2026, the data shows that Honda's step-by-step engineering response, which involved reconfiguring the fuel injection timing and improving the thermal management software, has effectively resolved these concerns. Case studies of 2024 and 2025 models operating in northern states like Minnesota and Maine show that these engines are now maintaining optimal oil viscosity and internal cleanliness, even under short-trip, high-idle conditions. This transparency and willingness to iterate on a design until it reaches perfection is exactly why the American public continues to place their capital in Honda's hands. Furthermore, we must analyze the transmission strategy that sets Honda apart in 2026. While many manufacturers have struggled with the longevity of their continuously variable transmissions, Honda's in-house developed CVTs have become a case study in durability. By using a high-strength steel belt and a proprietary fluid cooling logic, Honda has mitigated the heat-related failures that plagued the industry a decade ago. For the 2026 consumer, this means the potential outcomes of ownership do not include the dreaded $4,000 transmission replacement at 80,000 miles. Additionally, for their larger vehicles like the Honda Pilot and the Odyssey, the 2026 models utilize a sophisticated 10-speed automatic transmission that is widely considered the smoothest and most robust in the non-luxury segment. This mechanical diversity allows Honda to tailor the drivetrain to the specific load requirements of the vehicle, rather than using a one-size-fits-all approach that stresses components. In 2026, trust is also heavily predicated on safety, and Honda's advanced compatibility engineering or ACE body structure remains a gold standard in the United States. This design uses a network of high-strength steel frames to distribute crash energy more evenly throughout the front of the vehicle, significantly reducing the forces transferred to the occupants. When combined with the 2026 Honda Sensing 360 suite, which provides a 360-degree safety shield using high-resolution radar and camera systems, the trust factor becomes holistic. For a parent in 2026, knowing that the vehicle can detect a pedestrian or emerging car in a blind spot with near-perfect accuracy is the ultimate peace of mind. Historical trends from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety consistently show Honda models earning the top Safety Pick Plus rating, a data point that American families use as a primary filter during their car buying process. The financial trust in Honda is equally impressive. In 2026, the resale value of a used Honda Civic or CR-V in the American market is nothing short of legendary. A 3-year-old Honda typically retains over 70% of its original purchase price, making it one of the most effective hedges against automotive depreciation. This is supported by the fact that Honda parts are some of the most widely available and reasonably priced in the entire industry. Because Honda tends to keep their engine and chassis designs for longer life cycles than European competitors, the aftermarket support is vast. This means that a decade from now, Marcus in Atlanta will still be able to find affordable, high-quality components for his Accord at any local parts store, ensuring that the total cost of ownership remains low throughout the vehicle's life. Another fascinating element of Honda's third-place ranking in 2026 is their approach to the interior experience. At a time when many brands are removing physical controls in favor of fingerprint-prone touchscreens, Honda has returned to a philosophy of tactile ergonomics. The 2026 lineup features high-quality physical knobs for volume and climate control, designed with a specific click feel that engineers spent months perfecting. This builds trust because it reduces driver distraction and creates a sense of high-quality craftsmanship. It is an acknowledgement by the manufacturer that the human-machine interface should be intuitive and reliable, not a source of frustration. When a driver feels that the car was designed with their needs in mind, the bond of trust is significantly strengthened. We also have to discuss Honda's 2026 electrification strategy. While some brands took high-risk gambles on unproven platforms, Honda's partnership with Sony to create the Afeela brand and their internal development of the e-architecture shows a calculated, data-driven approach. They have successfully transitioned their most loyal customers into the Prologue EV and the latest CR-V hybrids by ensuring the driving dynamics still feel like a Honda. The potential outcomes of these new technologies are backed by decades of battery research and the historical reliability of their hybrid motor generators. However, the reason Honda sits at number 3 and not in the top 2 is a matter of pure statistical margins. While Honda is virtually tied with our top 2 contenders in mechanical reliability, they occasionally face minor interior trim durability issues compared to the absolute perfection of the brands yet to come. But for the vast majority of Americans, a Honda is the safest bet they will ever make. It is a brand that respects the hard-earned money of its owners and rewards them with hundreds of thousands of miles of trouble-free service. As we move into the final 2 spots of our masterclass, the tension is palpable. We have reached the summit of automotive trust in the United States. The next brand on our list has done something that no other manufacturer has been able to achieve in the last century. They have managed to combine a rugged blue-collar work ethic with a level of precision engineering that rivals aerospace standards. This brand is responsible for some of the most iconic vehicles to ever roam the American landscape, and in 2026, they have achieved a level of trust that borders on the religious. Imagine a manufacturer that has such a high level of quality control that they have become the primary choice for emergency services, government agencies, and the most demanding professionals in the world. We are about to dive into the world of the brand that has perfected the art of the forever vehicle. A brand whose name is synonymous with the very idea of an American legend. Can you guess which manufacturer has secured the number 2 spot by building machines that are practically indestructible? Stay with us as we reveal the penultimate brand on our list and the shocking engineering secrets that allow their vehicles to survive where others fail. Coming in at number 2 is the brand that has spent the last century defining the American work ethic, a manufacturer that has successfully turned the internal combustion engine into a piece of folk hero legend, Chevrolet. In 2026, trust in Chevrolet is not just about a purchase. It is about a commitment to a mechanical lineage that has powered the United States through every economic cycle and technological shift. While we have discussed Japanese efficiency and European refinement, Chevrolet occupies a unique space in the American heart because it represents the pinnacle of high-output, heavy-duty durability. To understand why Chevrolet is the penultimate brand on our list, we have to look at the legendary small-block V8 and the massive technological leap the brand has taken with its 2026 Silverado and Tahoe platforms. Imagine if you are a driver named Robert, a rancher in the high plains of Wyoming in 2026. Robert's daily reality involves hauling thousands of pounds of livestock and equipment over unpaved, frozen terrain where the nearest service center is a 3-hour drive away. For Robert, trust is the potential outcome of a 6.2-liter V8 engine that has been refined over 7 decades. In 2026, Chevrolet has perfected what engineers call dynamic fuel management or DFM. Unlike older cylinder deactivation systems that were prone to lifter failures, the 2026 iteration utilizes a sophisticated software-controlled solenoid system that can vary the firing order of the cylinders in 17 different patterns. This means Robert gets the efficiency of a 4-cylinder on the highway, but has the immediate raw torque of all 8 cylinders the moment his tires hit the mud. Historical trends show that this architecture, when paired with the 10L80 10-speed automatic transmission, has become one of the most reliable high-torque drivetrains in the history of the domestic market. The technical core of Chevrolet's trust in 2026 is their commitment to the body-on-frame architecture. While many other manufacturers have moved toward unibody designs to save weight, Chevrolet has maintained a fully boxed, high-strength steel frame for its trucks and full-size SUVs. In 2026, this frame is now manufactured using a proprietary hydroforming process that eliminates the need for excess welding, which reduces the potential outcomes of structural fatigue and rust. Case studies from 2026 emergency service fleets, including police departments and paramedics who utilize the Tahoe PPV, show that these vehicles are capable of maintaining structural integrity even after 150,000 miles of high-speed pursuit and heavy-duty idling. For the American public, seeing these vehicles used by the people we trust with our lives is the ultimate signal of brand reliability. Furthermore, we must address the 2026 Duramax 3.0-liter inline-six turbo diesel, In a masterclass of engineering, Chevrolet took the inherent balance of an inline-six and optimized it for the light-duty market. By 2026, the historical data on these engines has proven them to be incredibly robust. They utilize a cooled exhaust gas recirculation system and a variable geometry turbocharger that are designed for a 250,000-mile service life. For a driver like Robert, this translates to a vehicle that offers nearly 500 pound-feet of torque, while achieving fuel economy that rivals many midsize sedans. This combination of power and efficiency, backed by a mechanical design that avoids the complexity of high-revving petrol engines, is why Chevrolet's diesel offerings have a near-cult following among long-distance towers in 2026. But why is Chevrolet at number 2? It is because they have mastered the art of the software-defined truck. In 2026, the Chevrolet Infotainment 4 system has moved to a Linux-based architecture that is decoupled from the vehicle's critical driving systems. This means that even if your navigation screen glitches, your brakes, steering, and engine management remain completely unaffected. Trust is built when the technology serves the driver without compromising the vehicle's primary mission. When we look at the potential outcomes of ownership, a 2026 Chevrolet offers a unique hedge against obsolescence. The parts are affordable, the community knowledge is vast, and the machines are built to be rebuilt, not recycled. And now we have reached the summit. The number one car brand Americans trust the most in 2026 is the manufacturer that has become the definitive answer to the question of automotive longevity: Toyota. We mentioned Toyota at number 6 earlier to discuss their specific hurdles with heavy-duty truck recalls, but when we look at the brand as a holistic entity, they remain the undisputed king of trust in the United States. In 2026, Toyota has achieved something that no other brand has. They have made reliability a standard feature rather than an option. Imagine if you are a driver named Linda, a retired schoolteacher in Florida in 2026. Linda bought her 2026 Toyota Camry Hybrid with the intention of it being the last car she ever owns. For Linda, trust is the knowledge that the Toyota production system, or Kaizen, means every single bolt in her car was tightened with the intention of staying tight for 30 years. In 2026, the Camry has moved to a 100% hybrid lineup in the US market, and the trust in this move is absolute. Historical trends show that Toyota's hybrid systems are now reaching the 400,000-mile mark in taxi service with original batteries and motors. This is the gold standard of potential outcomes. The secret to Toyota's number 1 spot in 2026 is their TNGA, or Toyota New Global Platform. This architecture is designed with massive engineering margins. When you look at the suspension components of a 2026 RAV4 or Camry, you see bushings and control arms that are twice as thick as those found on rival budget crossovers. Step by step, Toyota's engineering philosophy prioritizes mechanical sympathy over peak performance. They don't try to be the fastest, they try to be the last one standing. In 2026, as the cost of a new car has soared, the American public has retreated to the safety of the Toyota badge because they know the car will be worth a significant portion of its value a decade from now. Case studies of 2026 models show that Toyota has also won the software war by keeping it simple. Their 2026 interface is clean, redundant, and focuses on physical safety. The Toyota Safety Sense 4.5 system uses a military-grade LiDAR and camera fusion that has the lowest false positive rate in the industry. For Linda in Florida, this means the car won't slam on the brakes for a shadow, but it will absolutely stop if a child runs into the street. This reliability in the safety tech is the final pillar of trust. When you combine the most proven hybrid powertrain in history with the most disciplined manufacturing process on Earth, you get a brand that Americans don't just like. They rely on it for their very survival. Toyota's number 1 position is a testament to the power of consistency. In a world that is changing faster than ever, Americans trust the brand that changes the slowest. They trust the brand that values a 300,000-mile odometer over a flashy commercial. In 2026, Toyota isn't just a car brand. It is the ultimate safe haven for American wealth and mobility. We have now covered the 10 brands that define trust in the United States, but the automotive world is shifting even as we speak. While these 10 lead the pack today, there is a new wave of technology on the horizon that could disrupt this list by 2030. We are currently preparing a deep dive investigation into the 2027 solid-state battery revolution, and which of these brands is secretly falling behind in the race for the next decade. If you want to know which of these trusted titans is currently facing a hidden internal crisis that could tank their reliability ratings by next year, you won't want to miss our upcoming masterclass on the future of automotive engineering. The landscape of trust is a moving target, and we are just getting started.